are here. And we thank you for the invitation of the co-creation of this here and now. So, if you feel a particular kind of buzz or humming around you or through you, or a presence perhaps close, you're warmly invited to just relax with that, sit with it, perhaps stay in a meditative position. You do not have to open your eyes, but you can if you want to. Take another nice deep breath in and out. And prepare for a little bit of an introduction. This is where I shall begin. The name that I introduce myself by is not my original name. We do not use names in my society. We do not need names in my society, for we are all telepathically connected. And there is a purpose to the idea of combining, in the sense of a pun, the word of telepathy and empathy, making telepathy. Because it is through the heart that we are telepathic connected, and we do not just read each other's thoughts, as you would say it colloquially, but we feel each other in the field of our connected beingness. Though we are physical beings, so is it that we see ourselves. And we wish with this reflection to invite you to understand that you too, being physical beings, or focused in the physical, more correctly put, can be fully aware of that bridge to non-physical, that telepathic field that you are already bathing in, that you are already connected in all together right now, when you open up yourselves for that. And you know, when you think of a person, you think of the person, you think of their energy frequency, you do not necessarily think of their name. It is something that you were taught to connect to the energy frequency of the person and use it as a label. So, because we understand that for most of you, where you are right now in your evolution, you still use the idea of names in that particular way, we have suggested the name of Arjun to the channel before you to introduce myself with. Now, there's a little bit of a pun in that word as well, because if you would speak it slowly, it says, are you. Now, there is an N at the end, so you could make it, if you want to play a little further, we are you now. We are you now, because there is only here and now. Time is an illusion, and you're playing around with the idea of the fabric of time in your reality very creatively. Now, so are we. Do not understand or misunderstand that we are outside of time. It is though through the energy frequency of the heart and the telepathic connection that time seems to have collapsed somewhat for us, yet it is not all entirely gone. We're playing more with it. There is still the idea of a linear experience, although for us linear doesn't mean A stands in front of B. They can be mixed up and replaced with each other. Now, you're beginning to rediscover yourselves, to remember all that you really are. And with that remembrance comes a heightening of your energy frequency. And you could say that with the heightening of your energy frequency, you allow yourself to wander into new gardens. We love this as an analogy. Some of these gardens we live in already, and that is why we saw you wandering into our direction and started to stretch out our hands. Okay, welcome in our garden. Welcome to this energy frequency. Welcome to this new dimension that you're beginning to feel yourselves into. Mostly in your dream time, some of you waking, some of you during meditation, during most prominently the act of creativity, the following of your heart, the following of your inspiration, your intuition, the voice of your connection to higher self. It is in the following of that, without any insistence and without any expectation of what the outcome ought to be, that you amp up your energy frequency, so much so that we can suddenly see you appear on our Google Maps. And those little lights, they speak to us. They're not just silent. They sing to us. They twinkle, they sing. They say, please, please, bring more of this. More of this, please. Yes, yes, yes. We're having so much fun. This is so nice. More of this. And we fully understand, and that is why, because we understand where you're quote-unquote heading, you could say, that where we are can be of benefit to your development. It is as natural, as organic and fluid as the fact that you are born from a mother and that there is immediately somebody there. We understand there are exceptions, but organically you understand as a metaphor. You're born from a mother and there's somebody there immediately to nourish you, that has the means to keep you alive. So Earth, Gaia, altogether life takes care of you. Now you're taught out of trusting this, most of you, in the society that you have chosen to be born in. But we want to let you know that you were all very much aware of what you were doing when you chose this society. And there were other options that were way more challenging, believe us. But where you were, you took as much as you could handle. This goes for most of you, as we sense the group energy frequency. You took as much as you could handle because only when you take as much as you can handle, you can truly, truly convince yourself of the powers that, you could say, hide and reside within you. Because do you not need somebody to push your boundaries in order to understand that you even have boundaries to begin with? And do you not need to have some wind flipping through the curtains to understand that you can raise them so that the sun can shine in? But you need some movement, you need some quote-unquote friction. You need the connection with your physical realm so that you can toy around with it and see what it reflects back to you in response. So most of you picked really interesting environments. And most of you, as we sensed the group energy, felt quite solitary in that. And it takes a lot of power and love, unconditional love, to stand up and keep your back straight in circumstances as such. But you see, the only one, or the only direction you can turn into when you feel alone is there, is inside. And you remembered, as you chose those circumstances, that the portal is within. And that only by turning within, you can understand what is actually going on, quote unquote, outside, because outside is a reflection of within. And so, most of you are ahead, you could say, of the game, because you've turned inside, even if it was just for the reason that you felt you had to and there was nowhere else to go, even if you felt it was forced on you. Let us so gently and lovingly remind you, you chose it. You chose it from the unconditional trust and love and knowingness with a capital K, that you would find yourself with a capital S. And it is with that self of you, any single one of you right now present here, that we connect in order to reflect back to you what you are ready for receiving, as you are ready for receiving whatever you encounter in your lives. You see, like attracts like. And you are in a really, really, really interesting moment in your Earth game right now, where this is becoming more multidimensional than it has ever been before in the history as known to man and fed to you through your scholar system so far. So within that history, linearly speaking, what's going on right now is a very new experience for most of you present or focused in this physical realm on Earth today. You see, there is a kind of split taking place, and it is physicalizing. You all know what happens when you pour oil over water in a glass bottle, don't you? Hello? Anybody home?
Yes.
Thank you. So when you do that, you know the two do not mix. They don't mingle very well. But for a long time, you had mixed up that bottle to make it seem as if it was one substance. So the oil and the water, and you have all the little bubbles after shaking it really thoroughly, were moving together and it seemed like one big mass. And every single oil bubble, seeing a fragment of water or another oil bubble, thought, oh, well, this is a situation that relates directly to me. And I need to respond to it or react to it because it relates directly to me. And I need to do that in order to survive. I have to continuously be aware of all the movement around me because it may threaten me. And this is the survival mechanism, which is originating organically, you could say, focused biologically in the reptile brain, the fight or flight mechanism. So the idea of that is that there are now an amount of people on your Earth a substantial amount, that has turned within, that has found the peace and the quiet and the ease and the balance that comes with looking into that inner vortex. And the effect of that is way grander than what you may see on the surface level. So gently and friendly, the idea of the water and the oil has begun to separate. The oil being the more denser reality, you could say, and the water the more liquid one. So those that choose to heighten their energy frequency by following their excitement in any given moment to the best of their ability, without any expectation as to what the outcome ought to be. It's the formula that we live by and that the other hybrid races have communicated to you before in previous channelings. By doing so, you make yourself liquid more light, and you begin to actually split yourself off from those that have chosen to believe, because you all have a free choice, you do. For those that have chosen to believe that they need to still react to everything that goes on around them, that continue to choose to feel they need to live energetically from this survival mechanism, the fight or flight system in the back of their brain. Now, you, the ones that are heightening your energy frequencies, you're beginning to find each other. As the water is becoming more clear, and you could say that the oil is retreating in a sense. So like attracts like. And two substances that don't mix well will be obviously, more and more obviously, not mixing very well. And some of you may have noticed this in your personal lives. That the gap energetically between you and somebody else who is clearly resonating on another energy frequency becomes more and more tangible. And even little things become more and more upsetting. Any fear-based belief, in other words, is being pushed to the surface with so much power right now because it simply can no longer stand being underwater. Speaking for oil. It needs to come up. It needs to find itself. It needs to see so much of itself that it can then still decide to choose to turn to water. So, say there is a fear inside you. So this goes for people that reflect segments of your belief system back to you in your daily life. But it also goes for when you're by yourself and you're screening your own system and the belief systems in there, and you find one that is worryful or fearsome or a little bit tight in the corner. When you find a belief system like that, you will find it wants to be seen more than ever. And it will find ways to be reflected into your reality, whether it is by opening a book, reading a page, or watching a movie and discovering that that movie is exactly about that fear, just played out by other characters. And this idea of increasing synchronicity is picking up very rapidly right now, and it is part of the split of versions of Earth that is now taking place. Now, obviously, there's an infinite versions of Earth, where you can all choose to resonate into the direction of. But we understand clearly, especially those that are in contact with any one of us, that your preference is a balanced earth where there is love and light and no judgment. And in the light of such a world, things that are now perhaps labeled fearful are integrated. They're not pushed out. They're integrated, and that is what actually transforms them into the light. And that is what takes judgment out of the game. So for those of you that feel particularly challenged, perhaps in recent days or weeks, by the idea of segments, people we mean, in your society that appear to drift very much in the other direction, when you observe them and when your thoughts wander around these people or situations perhaps, we gently invite you to remember that the only reason you can still see them is because some segment of their energy frequency is still resonating with yours. So something within that person has overlap with your personal energy frequency in that moment, because for real, if there wasn't at least 1% of energetic overlap, you couldn't meet. You could literally not see each other. And this is why, for us, from the energy frequency that we're speaking from now, when one of you is in a thorough state of despair, we can't see you. So What we said earlier, that you are popping up on our Google Maps like little twinkling lights, that's what's happening when you follow your heart, when you heighten your energy frequency, when you allow yourself to go with the flow, when you turn fluidly into the water. But to turn into the water, you have to at least find a way to make peace with the oil for as long as it is still visible in your watery world. So even though you're in the midst of a split, thinking, ha ha, you're going, I'll be rid of you soon, is not necessarily the energy frequency that supports you to remain focused in the water state, using it as a synonym for high energy frequency. You see, I'll be rid of you soon, as a sentence on its own, reveals clearly that you are pushing something away. And the point is integration. So find in yourself, if you feel excited to do so, something within a person that you perhaps even disgust, that you admire or like. There must be something, at least one thing, perhaps the way they sleep when they finally shut up, that is cute about them. There is something about them that they do really well. Perhaps the type of house they live in you really like, you wish you had a house like that. Or you can tell yourself, well, I must admit they're pretty good manifestors in one way or another. Or the way they treat their family is really nice. They treat me like shit, but they treat their family very nice. I'm gonna admire that, and I'm gonna focus on the relationship they have built over there. And I'm just gonna see through the masks that they're showing me and focus only on that. See that there is something that binds you together. Pick something that feels good to you. And then it's so much easier to say goodbye to the rest, because you will understand that is not what you're relating to. You're not choosing to relate to all that other stuff anymore. And by that, you are naturally and organically letting it go. Drift away, like a little pebble or a flower leaf on the wind. Gently. No pressure, no fear, no pushing, no anger. It's all good. It can all be there. You're in an overlapping stage. And it's really, really exciting. And you may also have noticed, even though on the one hand perhaps certain things seem to be more upsetting and stand out more, what it really means is that you are calling yourself home with a stricter voice, with an actually more loving voice that is audible, because the upset is telling you with a lot of power, this is not you, this is not you. And so you can use it in a positive way when you feel the upset. And even though that's getting stronger, on the other hand, and to balance it all out, because it's always yin-yang, it's always in a beautiful balance, there is the attraction of the like that finds like that is in harmony with each other. Like all of you right now have found yourself together in this room and able to speak about certain subjects that perhaps in your separate realities you don't feel you have a lot of partners to speak about with. So it's both happening. And the next time you have to say goodbye, perhaps to a dear friend that doesn't feel so dear anymore, know that what you have as a saying really goes. When a door closes, a window opens. And it is through the, at this moment, open doors and open windows of your heart that we are very excited to communicate further with you on any and all subject that might be correlating to what we just shared with you, or anything else that you have in the back of your head that you would like to share with us. We thank you so much, each and every single one of you, for being yourselves and for being in this co-creation. We are indeed co-creating this field, and it is an exchange already, even though perhaps you feel you have not spoken yet. We thank you, we invite you to please step forth.